Before buyers evaluate your expertise, they usually do something much faster. They categorize your firm. A headline, homepage, referral phrase, article, or visual cue gives them enough information to place you into a mental box. That box shapes what they expect, what they compare, and whether they keep looking. The category often comes before the deeper evaluation and can determine whether that evaluation happens at all. Many expert-led firms assume unclear positioning leaves the buyer undecided. It rarely does. Buyers are busy, risk-conscious, and trying to reduce complexity. When your meaning is unclear, they do not pause to investigate your hidden depth. They reach for the nearest familiar label: generalist, implementation vendor, specialist, or another consulting firm. Unclear does not mean uncategorized. It usually means categorized by default. The category assignment ladder shows how that judgment forms: signal, category, expectations, and consideration. The buyer first encounters one fragment of your firm. They use it to assign a category. That category activates assumptions about your work, price, seniority, and value. Only then do they decide whether you belong in the consideration set. Each step quietly determines the next. The first step is signal. Buyers rarely encounter your full body of expertise. They see a fragment: a LinkedIn headline, homepage sentence, referral description, article topic, case study, or visual impression. That fragment becomes the raw material for judgment. A clear signal gives the buyer a useful starting point. A broad or generic signal forces them to supply the missing meaning themselves. The second step is category. From the signal, the buyer assigns a familiar label: strategic advisor, specialist, implementation provider, generalist, or commodity vendor. The label may be accurate, partly accurate, or wrong, but it gives the buyer a fast way to process your firm. If you do not make the intended category obvious, the buyer will usually choose the nearest familiar alternative. The third step is expectations. Every category carries assumptions. It tells the buyer what problems you probably solve, what your work should cost, what level of seniority you bring, what proof should matter, and which firms should be compared with you. The buyer is no longer evaluating your firm with fresh eyes. They are interpreting every claim and case study through the category already assigned. The fourth step is consideration. Buyers do not consider your firm in the abstract. They consider you within the category they have assigned. A strategic firm categorized as a tactical vendor may never be evaluated for a board-level problem. A specialist categorized as a generalist may never receive serious consideration for a specialist problem. Strong expertise can be present and still remain commercially irrelevant because the buyer is using the wrong evaluation frame. The important consequence is timing. Category assignment happens before the buyer studies your full expertise. Once a category is assigned, later evidence is filtered through it. The buyer notices what fits the label and may overlook what does not. The first commercial decision is often not whether your firm is best. It is whether your firm belongs in the category worth evaluating more deeply. Think about Company A and Company B. Company A has strong expertise and credible content, but defines itself through a broad category. Buyers see capability, yet still have to decide what the firm should be hired for. Company B may have comparable expertise, but connects its signals to one recognizable high-value problem. Buyers can place it faster, form clearer expectations, and know when to bring it into a conversation. The difference is not necessarily expertise, it is category clarity. The key takeaway is simple. Buyers categorize your firm before they investigate it. That category shapes what they expect, what they compare, and whether they look deeper. Clear positioning is not about reducing the breadth of your expertise. It gives buyers the right front door into it. To see where your firm may be creating confusion or friction in the buyer's mind, take the Authority Gap Quiz at trailblazermastery.com/quiz.